True Story Media.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Everyone is telling her she dreamt it, but in The Woman in Cabin 10, Lo Blacklock is determined to uncover the truth. In the gripping new thriller coming to Netflix October 10th, Keira Knightley plays a journalist aboard a luxury yacht who witnesses a crime she can't unsee. Adapted from Ruth Ware's best-selling novel, directed by Simon Stone. Watch The Woman in Cabin 10, only on Netflix on October 10th.
Once upon a mundane morning, Barb's day got busy without warning. A realtor in need of an open house sign. No, 50 of them, and designed before 9.
My head hurts.
Any mighty tools to help with his plight? Aha! Barb made her move. She opened Canva and got in the groove.
Bulk creating Canva sheets. Create 50 signs fit for suburban streets.
Done in a click, all complete.
Sweet!
Now, imagine what your dreams can become when you put imagination to work at canva.com.
This podcast contains adult themes and language, and some of the things that we discuss may be disturbing to some listeners. In this podcast, we discuss sexual assault, torture, race, and murder. Listener discretion is advised. Please take care of yourself.
Welcome to Fruitloops, Buiti Binafi, and Bienvenidos Bitches. Thank you so much for listening. Fruitloops is a true crime, history, and comedy podcast that delves into the often overlooked stories of serial killers of color and, more importantly, the victims. We take deep dives into the lives and crimes of these killers worldwide, while also examining the history, culture, and social factors that may have influenced their actions. And the reason that we cover these crimes is because they often go unnoticed by the public. And why is that? Because in the simplest of terms, the news is racist. Allegedly.
And we are Wendy and Beth. She's Wendy, a Black Latinx woman, and I'm Beth, and I just happen to be white. That's just a little piece of who we are. Another piece is that although we are both fascinated by true crime, really fascinated by true crime, and we know a lot about it, keep in mind that we are not journalists, investigators, or psychologists, and the opinions expressed in this podcast are just that, our opinions.
All right, so who are we talking about today, Beth?
Today is our episode 260. About Benjamin Thomas Tony Atkins, a.k.a. the Woodward Corridor Killer, who murdered at least 11 women during an 8-month period in 1991 and 1992. And this was suggested by Tiffany on Facebook and our quote-unquote #1 fan, Kenny.
Should we do a air horn for the Fruities? Thank you guys so much for suggesting a very interesting case.
Yeah.
And as soon as I can find my goddamn air horn, there it is. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we can't wait to get into it. So before we do, how you doing?
Oh, keeping busy as usual.
Love it. Love it. What do they say? Idle hands is the devil's playground. So it's good to be busy.
Definitely do not have idle hands. I feel like I'm running ragged, but par for the course this year. this year in this year of our Lord 2025 at this particular time. Oh yes, we're all running a little ragged. It's been a really tough year.
Yeah. I hear you.
I laugh because what else are you gonna do?
It's almost
right.
Yeah.
Somebody told me at work today that oh, you're always smiling and you always look so happy. I'm like, I'm a really good faker.
I'm a faker and they pay me. So
Yeah.
I can at least smile. So
Yeah. So what did your
that's
mom
funny.
used to
I'm
say?
a good faker. Oh, what am I going to do? Lay down and die? Or what are you going to do, Wendy? Lay
Yeah.
down and die?
Yeah.
And
What are you
I
gonna
really
do?
want to many times,
But-
but you
But,
really
you
can't.
know, you can't.
Really can't. So one foot
Yeah.
in front of the other, and
Yeah. Just keep
we'll
trucking.
get through. Just keep
Just keep going.
just like
Yeah.
Dory. Just keep swimming.
Just
Just
keep
keep
going.
swimming.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same. Running on fumes, but I'm alive, safe. I have what I need. Also, not sure if you noticed, but there's some fascism afoot.
Yeah. I did notice
it's-
that.
It's a little
of the-
unsettling.
one of the things that's really upsetting. Yeah.
Yeah. So my goal is to protect my peace and stay out of white people's business.
Yeah.
So
That's a good plan. Yeah.
So let us know how y'all doing. We love to hear from the Fruities just to see what's up. We are going to take an ad break and get into the story when we come back. We're back.
All right.
Remind us, Beth, who is our subject today?
Our subject today is Benjamin Thomas Tony Atkins, a.k.a. the Woodward Corridor Killer. And he murdered at least 11 women between 1991 and 1992 in Detroit, Michigan. And we were actually going to cover this one a long time ago, like years ago.
Oh, really?
But yeah, we had it on our list. I started like a doc and everything,
Mhm.
but there just wasn't enough information at the time.
Oh,
So I put it on the
interesting.
back burner. I occasionally look at the back burner subjects to see if there's more information. And there's a shit ton of information out there now. So
That's interesting. In the few years
yeah.
that we were considering talking about it, that more information has come to light.
Yeah.
That's good. That's great
Yeah,
for the
it
people
is.
involved.
But
Yeah.
I think what happened was somebody wrote a book. So now there's a lot more
Oh.
because there still aren't a lot of articles about it, but there's this book and I read the book.
Oh,
A lot of the information is going to come from the book.
fantastic. Thank you so much for your efforts. As always, OG of True Crime. You do it every time, and we just appreciate it. Well, let's move on to the love and light portion of our show, where we just want to say rest and power to the victims whose lives were cut short, and love and light to their loved ones and communities left in the wake of
Right.
these crimes.
Yeah.
The victims' names are Patricia Cannon George, 36, Valerie Brown Chalk, 34, Vicky Ann Truelove, 39, Debbie Ann Friday, 31, Bertha Jean Mason, 26, Juanita Hardy, 23, Jane Doe, age unknown, Vicky Marie Beasley Brown, 43, Joanne O'Rourke, aka Joanne May Ollie, 40, Brenda Mitchell, 39, Osanena Cece Waymer, 24. So now let's get into the setting and the early life of Atkins.
Okay.
What do you got for us, Beth? Take us there.
Well, the story takes place in Detroit, Michigan, along the Woodward Corridor, a stretch of Woodward Avenue that runs north all the way from downtown Detroit, about 30 miles to Pontiac, Michigan. The corridor also passes through Highland Park, which is a small city entirely surrounded by Detroit. I thought that was really interesting.
I thought that was interesting too. It's giving it a hug,
Yeah.
a geographical hug. Often regarded as the backbone of the city's growth and identity, the Woodward Corridor's roots go back to the Saginaw Trail, one of Michigan's oldest Native American footpaths, used for trade, hunting, and travel by the Ojibwe people, specifically the Saginaw Ojibwe bands, who lived in and around the area.
After European invasion, the trail was widened for wagons and later paved, becoming one of the nation's earliest quote-unquote superhighways. That's funny.
Yeah.
It linked Detroit, the state's main port, to the Saginaw Valley, a vital hub for lumber, commerce, and eventually industry.
In 1807, Augustus Woodward, Michigan's first territorial chief justice, formally platted Woodward Avenue as part of his radial design for Detroit. Is that radial or radical? Did I get that right?
Radial, yeah.
Okay.
It's like sun rays coming out from a circle.
Oh,
the roads.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Radial design for Detroit, inspired by Washington, D.C. and Paris.
Yep.
Over time, the avenue evolved from an indigenous trail into a central artery of Metro Detroit, carrying both prosperity and conflict.
Woodward Avenue became inseparable from Detroit's automotive legacy. It became the world's first mile of concrete highway, hosted countless car manufacturers and interurban streetcars, and later became home to the annual Woodward Dream Cruise, which draws millions of classic car enthusiasts. Along it rose department stores, churches, and a nightlife that ranged from ice cream parlors to burlesque houses.
Wow,
Sounds
that's
fun.
Interesting. Yeah, it does sound fun. But I do wonder, at whose expense did all this stuff get built?
Yeah, we'll get into
it. So Woodward Avenue has also mirrored Detroit's struggles. It was the site of the 1963 March on Detroit, and later bore witness to the city's decline as white flight, economic hardship, and racial tensions escalated after the 1967 Detroit riot. It's a big deal in history.
Yeah, it is. That uprising, the bloodiest of the urban riots in the United States during the long, hot summers of 1964 to 1968, erupted after police raided an unlicensed after-hours bar on 12th Street. Long simmering grievances over housing, jobs, segregation, and police brutality exploded into 5 days of chaos, leaving 43 dead, over 1,000 injured, and entire blocks destroyed.
The Algiers motel incident, in which 3 Black teenagers were killed by police and National Guardsmen under murky circumstances at best, remains one of the most infamous tragedies of the riot.
In response, President Lyndon Johnson established the Kerner Commission. Its 1968 report became one of the bluntest government assessments of race relations in U.S. history. The commission concluded that the nation was, quote, moving towards 2 societies, one black, one white, separate and unequal, unquote.
Wow, the report seems pretty clear.
Yeah.
Rejecting the idea that riots were caused by agitators or criminal impulses, it identified systemic racism, residential segregation, failing schools, unemployment, and abusive policing as the true root causes of unrest.
The Kerner Report issued a sweeping set of recommendations. Massive federal investment in housing, education, and job creation for Black Americans. Stronger social safety nets, police accountability and diversification, efforts to dismantle segregation, and more equitable media representation. This was back in 1967, 68.
Yeah. I mean, revolutionary stuff.
Yeah.
Could have been very helpful towards, fixing problems.
Yeah.
Another thing about all that violence that occurred, I sent you a graphic that I found on Substack, and it was used with data collected by the FBI from the 60s. And I believe they've excluded certain unusual
big
events.
Yeah,
like January 6th isn't included in the data because that would just skew
or 9/11,
it too much.
I think.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But most of these violent situations are caused by a common denominator. Usually it's these perpetrators of this kind of violence are male, white. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just thought that it just reminded me of that study. But President Johnson, angered by its claim that racism was the primary cause of the riots. How could it be me? How could it be what?
How could it be us white people?
Me? No. Yeah. Rejected the report and refused to endorse it. Could it be that facing the truth of racism was uncomfortable? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't want to be uncomfortable.
Oh no. But what about the people who are actually experiencing the shit?
Yeah. Who cares about them? I don't want to be uncomfortable.
Exactly. Comfort over everything. So as a result, the Kerner Commission's recommendations were not implemented, leaving the inequalities it identified completely unresolved.
Yep.
Then Richard Nixon, Tricky Dick, 1968 Law and Order campaign marked a shift toward this is a great idea. Punitive approaches rather than structural reforms.
So they told them what they needed to do,
Uh-huh.
and they did the complete opposite. Yeah,
okay.
that tracks. Yeah.
And then what did you think was going to happen? I don't know.
I mean, people have, these reforms that they wanted to do back in 1967, 1968
Mhm.
are what we're talking about now. Imagine if they had implemented them 60 years ago, you know?
I mean, my face is forming a smile. Wow, that would have been so great.
Yeah.
But they didn't really kicked the problem kicked the can down the road. You know?
And they made it worse.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So for Detroit, the report's warnings proved prophetic. White flight to the suburbs accelerated, eroding the city's tax base. Black residents, still shut out of many suburban communities, faced rising unemployment as auto jobs moved outward or overseas. Entire neighborhoods devastated by the 1967 riot were left to decay, while distrust between police and the Black community remained deep.
At the same time, the riot and the Kerner Report energized new demands for Black power. By 1973, Detroit elected Coleman Young as its first Black mayor, ushering in a new era of representation and reform. Yet, the structural inequities that the commission had highlighted, segregation, poverty, and strained police-community relations, continued to shape the city's struggles.
It was in this environment that Benjamin Atkins was born on August 26, 1968, in Detroit. As a child, he was called Ben. As an adult, it was Tony. Little Ben grew up with little protection or opportunity, and his early life was marked by instability and trauma.
Both of his parents struggled with addiction, and shortly after his birth, his father abandoned the family. In 1970, his mother left him as well, and Ben spent much of his youth in foster homes before landing in the St. Francis Home for Boys, operated by the Catholic Archdiocese of Detroit.
There, he says he endured repeated abuse, first at the hands of other children, then at the hands of an employee who raped him when he was 10. For years, he claims, he was subjected to sexual abuse until 1980, when he was 12 and was briefly reunited with his mother and older brother.
I was going to say, hope, right there, it's hope. But home offered little refuge, unfortunately. His stepfather was verbally abusive, and he claims that once he choked Ben until he passed out. The brothers were also exposed to their mother's sex work, witnessing her with clients.
And she also was doing drugs. I forgot that part too. So
okay.
Yeah, it just was not a good environment at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben dropped out of high school in the 9th or 10th grade. Living on the streets, he performed sex work for male clients, and by the late 1980s, he was addicted to drugs. He lived with his brother and his brother's girlfriend for a while, and had both boyfriends and girlfriends.
Now, by Christmas of 1990, Atkins' brother had run out of patience with his drug use. Having fought his own battle with addiction, he finally kicked him out. From then on, Atkins lived a nomadic life, drifting between abandoned buildings. In June 1992, the Detroit News reported that there were 322 abandoned properties in the city of Highland Park.
That's wild.
That is wild, but Detroit is coming back. There was long time, where it really wasn't. But like, I have family that moved there.
Oh, wow.
I know people are buying properties there. And my understanding is things are turning around. And it's a wonderful city. I've never been there, but it sounds, a city nicknamed like Motor City. Oh, man.
So to earn money, Atkins performed sex work and picked up the occasional odd job. A pizza shop manager who employed him briefly recalled that he was a hard worker when he bothered to show up.
Ah, that's key.
Yeah, it is key.
Despite his struggles, many who knew him remembered him as likable and easygoing until he drank or used drugs. Under the influence, his personality would change noticeably. He became volatile, displaying misogynistic attitudes, and antisocial behavior. Still, he managed to avoid serious arrests. So now let's move on to the timeline. What happened, Beth? Start from the beginning, would you? No, just
Okay, will do. In October of 1991, a woman named Darlene Saunders, she was 33, ran into Tony Atkins at around 4:30 a.m. on Woodward Avenue. Darlene grew up on Detroit's east side in a large family and later had 3 children of her own.
The two already knew each other, so they greeted one another with a hug. Atkins asked Darlene if she had a crack pipe. When she said yes, they made their way to the abandoned Howard Johnson's nearby, slipping around to the back and entering the building through the missing door. She entered first.
To her shock, Atkins suddenly grabbed her, pinned her arms, and began choking her and tearing off her clothes. At just 5'3", she couldn't break free. She started to scream, quote, "What are you doing? If you want sex, I'll give it to you rather than hurt me like this," unquote. He replied, quote, "This is the way I like it," unquote.
He raped her on the debris-strewn floor as shards of broken glass cut up her back. But when he tried to drag her to the basement, she shoved him, causing him to stumble down the stairs. She bolted outside, but he caught her and tackled her.
Thankfully, her screams drew out a man named Mario, whom she knew. Atkins fled, and Mario helped her gather her belongings before he had to leave for work. Darlene, ashamed and struggling with addiction, didn't report it.
Wow. And Mario, what an angel for being there.
And helping her, yeah.
Mm-hmm. On October 11th, 1991, Atkins and 39-year-old Highland Park man named Diosdado were breaking into and taking a sledgehammer to the abandoned Monterey Motel. In the 1950s, the Monterey Motel was $1 million showpiece.
Its pool was state-of-the-art, and their lounge, called the Sunken Ship Lounge, featured windows that looked directly into the water.
Wow.
Like below the water line.
Wow, that's cool.
Pretty fancy, yeah.
Yeah.
But over time, the motel declined, and by 1990, it was closed for good. The city of Highland Park took it over for unpaid taxes and water bills, but the property quickly fell into ruin.
Atkins and Diosdado were caught hiding inside the motel and arrested for trespassing on and vandalizing city property. Atkins failed to appear at his arraignment on November 4th, and a warrant was issued for his arrest.
That same month, around Thanksgiving, Patricia Cannon George, 36, went missing. The fifth of 8 children, she grew up in Detroit's Delray neighborhood in a stable household supported by her father's job at General Motors.
Though her family valued education and some siblings did pursue college, Pat dropped out of high school, married young, and had 3 children. After separating from her husband, she fell into drug use.
One night on Woodward, she encountered Atkins. They smoked crack together before he choked her unconscious in an abandoned house. She briefly awoke, but he strangled her again, then raped her.
When he was done, he left her in an empty house. On January 3rd in 1992, a demolition crew found her body. She was logged as unknown female number 1, Detroit's first Jane Doe of that year.
Valerie Brown Chalk, 34, also disappeared that November. The youngest of 5 from Highland Park, she married young. But when her husband abandoned her, she turned to drugs. She had 4 children, all raised by her mother, Jessie, with the help of Valerie's sister.
Takes a village.
Yep.
Though no longer their primary caregiver, Valerie remained in their lives, seeing them from time to time. Jessie said Valerie loved her children and had tried treatment more than once, while she and her daughter focused on keeping the siblings together and giving them a stable life.
Weeks after Pat's murder, Atkins lured Valerie to the abandoned Monterey Motel with his usual promise of drugs. There he strangled and raped her, then hid her body in a shower stall under debris. Her family knew something was wrong when she was gone for months. They filed a missing persons report and posted flyers all over both Highland Park and Detroit.
In November or December of that year, Vicki Ann Truelove, 39, also went missing. Vicki had had the sad misfortune of having been a witness to a murder back in June. At that time, she talked to the police and gave a statement. So when she went missing, the police actually looked for her.
Yeah. Atkins later said that the night he killed Vicky, he had, quote, indulged in a male, unquote, which is a weird way to say it.
I thought so too.
Yeah. And that these incidents tended to start the same way. So he would have a male encounter for which he was paid. Then he would smoke some crack and then take a walk to clear his mind, he said.
Wow. So he was walking down the street around 11 or 12 at night when he unfortunately ran into Vicky. He again suggested that they smoke some crack, and Vicky went with him to an abandoned nursing home off Woodward, where he strangled her.
Debbie Ann Friday, 31, was last seen on December 13th, 1991. That night, Atkins lured her into an abandoned apartment building basement in Highland Park. There, he assaulted and raped her, leaving her body tied to 2 poles.
Found the next day, police at first thought she had been shot because of some trauma to her head. She was labeled as unknown female number 48 until she was identified.
On December 14th, 1991, Bertha Jean Mason, 26, slipped out while her boyfriend watched their 4 young children. She was at a gas station on Woodward Avenue when she met Atkins. He lured her into a vacant building with the promise of crack.
Once there, he strangled her repeatedly and raped her. Overcome with a rage even he didn't understand, he beat her and killed her, leaving her body in the basement. Found on December 30th, she was identified by her boyfriend on New Year's Eve.
Juanita Hardy, 23, grew up in Detroit and also struggled with addiction. She was last seen walking on Woodward Avenue sometime in late December or early January. Atkins lured her with the promise of smoking crack.
He then strangled and raped her at the Monterey Motel, leaving her body hidden in a shower stall, then placed her clothing and some debris on top of her, as he had done with Valerie Chalk.
The body of Vicky Truelove was found on January 25th, 1992, bound with her own clothing, frozen on the 2nd floor of an abandoned nursing home. Logged as unknown female number 10, she was later identified by her family. She left behind 4 children.
Just 3 days after her body was found on January 28th, DPD officers were checking abandoned buildings near the scene. At a nearby vacant apartment building, often used by sex workers, they discovered a man asleep on a couch on the 2nd floor around 10 a.m.
When woken, he identified himself as Calvin Atkins. He said he was broke and had been staying in vacant buildings since Christmas when his wife kicked him out after a violent fight. He admitted he had no permission to be there.
Officers followed up at his Elmhurst address, where a woman clarified she wasn't his wife or girlfriend, but his brother's girlfriend. She said Atkins had been drifting in and out since Christmas, sometimes staying a couple weeks, then disappearing without explanation. She described him as a little, quote-unquote, off.
They then took him to the station. Benjamin Thomas Atkins, age 23. They would detain him on a misdemeanor charge.
On February 17th, 1992, police found 3 bodies in separate rooms at the Monterey Motel in Highland Park after a scrapper reported one. Within weeks, one victim, initially logged as unknown female number 14, was identified as Valerie Chalk through dental records and fingerprints.
Juanita Hardy was tagged as unknown female number 16 until her fingerprints identified her. The 3rd woman could not be identified and became known as unknown female number 15. According to Atkins, he met her on Woodward and told her he was looking for someone to smoke with.
He repeated the same trick he'd used with Juanita, then assaulted and killed her in the same manner. Afterward, he dragged her into a shower and covered her body by sliding a piece of wall paneling between the shower and the toilet to keep her hidden.
Vicki Marie Beasley Brown, 43, once celebrated in high school for her beauty and charm, fell into decades of addiction. She had 4 children, worked various jobs, and retained a creative spirit remembered by her daughter.
On March 25th, 1992, Atkins strangled her near Highland Street, dragged her into a vacant apartment, and left her body in a closet. She was reported missing on April 2nd and found April 15th.
Little is known about Atkins' next victim, reported as Joanne O'Rourke or Joanne May Ollie, 40. He met her at a bus stop, strangled her inside a vacant storefront, and hid her body under debris. She wasn't found until June 15th, 1992, after neighbors noticed a smell.
Brenda Mitchell, 39, had trained as a nurse's aide, but succumbed to her addiction to drugs. She had 2 children raised by her mother. Atkins met her on Woodward in April of 1992. He again offered to smoke cocaine with her, but when they cut through an alley, he grabbed her from behind and dragged her into an empty house.
There, he assaulted her, choking and raping her until she was dead. He then left her under a mattress and box spring. Found on April 9th, she was first thought to have overdosed before her death was ruled homicide by strangulation.
Osanena Cece Waymer, 24, of Highland Park, was last seen in May of 1992. Known to Atkins for months, she joined him to smoke in a vacant garage. There he strangled, assaulted, and left her in the basement under debris. Rest and power to the victims whose lives were cut short. And that's it for the timeline. So now we are going to move on to the investigation and the arrest. So what, Beth?
It was around January of 1992 when the 3 bodies were found at the Monterey Motel. And that was when police began to realize that they had a serial killer on their hands.
Aha.
Yeah. Officers began doing surveillance on Woodward and talking to the sex workers that frequented the area.
Darlene Saunders heard about it, and in March of 1992, she went to the police. She told them her story about how Tony had attacked her, how she barely escaped, and how she wouldn't have made it out if Mario hadn't been there. She was brushed off. Not the perfect victim.
No. Yeah, that's so annoying. I mean, annoying isn't even the word. It's infuriating.
Thank you. That feels appropriate for what this was. Yeah.
It wasn't until July that police began taking her seriously. Officer Royce Alston was assigned to accompany her along Woodward Avenue in search of Tony. For 10 to 12 hours at a stretch, the 2 combed the streets of Highland Park and Detroit. Alston, disguised as an unhoused man, blending in as he followed her through the alleys, shadowed corners, and hidden spots he never even knew existed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some really,
good
I think,
policing.
Yes, that's took the words out of my mouth. So on August 19th, 1992, they were in a car along with Alston's partner at about 1:45. And there was Tony, standing on the west side of Woodward at a payphone. Darlene was reacting, clearly agitated, unable to speak at first.
Finally, she said, "Royce, that's him." "Darlene, are you sure?" he asked. "Royce, that's him," she repeated. Alston called for backup and told Darlene to stay in the car while he got out and approached Atkins, his weapon hidden behind his back. "Tony," he said calmly, "do you know who I am?"
"Yes, I know who you are." "Who am I?" Alston said. "You're the state trooper that's been looking for me." Alston then told him, "You have 2 choices." "What are my choices?" Atkins asked. Royce said, "Lay on the ground or die." And Atkins responded, "I choose to lay down."
Good choice.
Yeah.
Atkins was arrested on rape charges and taken to Highland Park. A day and a half later, Atkins was taken to a low-key building that had been converted from a school for questioning. Atkins was advised of his rights around 11:45 a.m.
At first, Atkins claimed to be gay, so he wouldn't do such a thing. Later, he said he had girlfriends from time to time, but he preferred men. But by 1 p.m., Atkins had confessed to all 11 murders and the rape of Darlene Saunders. After 12 hours, he had given detailed written confessions for each assault. And now, let's get into the trial.
Okay.
Hit it, Beth!
A month after his arrest, Atkins was evaluated by a certified forensic examiner and deemed competent to stand trial. Psychological testing showed he had a low to average IQ, was impulsive, and showed poor judgment, surprisingly enough.
In the year before trial, Atkins saw 4 psychiatrists. He claimed to have multiple personalities, saying Tony was the one who told him to commit the crimes. Tony, described as the bad personality, expressed hatred for Atkins and disgust over his homosexuality.
Atkins said he believed being with a woman might help him overcome his homosexuality and silence Tony. But Tony criticized him for that too. While Atkins denied hating women like Tony did, he did admit to some dislike for them.
Some dislike?
Some dislike, yeah.
Okay.
I kind of don't like them.
Yeah. Well, you know, there are so many other things that could have been done if you kind of don't like somebody.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You didn't
Maybe
have to
leave
do
them
that.
alone.
Leave them be.
Maybe leave them the fuck alone. So the prosecution's expert doubted his hallucinations, citing inconsistencies and the methodical nature of his crimes, luring victims, choking them, having sex, and hiding the bodies, suggesting intentional behavior.
The defense expert also rejected the idea that Atkins had multiple personalities, but recognized signs of splitting, a conflicted internal dialogue. The expert suggested Atkins was symbolically killing both his mother and the part of himself he despised. And this is the defense expert.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, that was going to be one of my takes, so I'm glad somebody said it. So he also said that Atkins' mental illness stemmed from a failure of normal psychological development, that early repeated trauma had stunted his emotional growth. While the psychiatrist considered him mentally ill, he did not meet the legal definition of insanity.
In any case, his trial began in January of 1994. For most of the trial, Atkins sat motionless, detached from the proceedings. The trial evidence included Darlene's testimony, DNA and fingerprint matches, the similarity between the crimes, and Atkins' own confessions.
After a 4-month-long trial, that's a long time, and 3 days of deliberation, the jury found Benjamin Atkins guilty. His attorney pleaded for leniency, citing his childhood marked by abuse and the lasting effects of trauma compounded by drug addiction, factors he argued had fueled Atkins' mental, emotional, and behavioral struggles. And in April of 1994, he was sentenced to multiple life terms. So now let's get into where are they now? Tell us, Beth.
After his conviction, Atkins was first sent to the Charles Egler Reception and Guidance Center in Jackson. That sounds nice.
Yeah. That sounds,
a reception and guidance center.
Yeah, interesting.
But his declining health soon required a transfer to Duane Waters Hospital, where he died on September 17th, 1997, from an AIDS-related illness. So he was pretty young.
Yeah. And not long after the conviction, like the timeline of it.
Yeah, so 3 years after the conviction, and he must have been about 29 years old.
Yeah, that is really young. In 2023, the Highland Park Police Department partnered with Identifinders International to apply forensic genetic genealogy, I love this, in the case of unknown female number 15, discovered at the Monterey Motel in Highland Park. The woman was successfully identified, but her name has been withheld at her family's request.
Vicki Brown's daughter, Renee, along with her husband, founded a business dedicated to fostering positive relationships called the Rich Relationships Refuge. Renee and her husband have authored books, produced a podcast and a YouTube channel, and taught online courses. Renee's journey led her to advocate for those impacted by addiction, particularly the children who suffer the consequences.
Wow.
And I think that's beautiful.
I could not agree more with you. That's all we've got for the case itself. And now we're going to talk about our thoughts and takeaways. What do you think about this case, Beth?
Well, obviously his childhood was horrific.
Yeah.
And from what I've read, his mom's wasn't much better. So it definitely feels like a case of generational trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting with this case, there's a lot of things that are interesting, but he seems to have been bisexual.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've talked about a bisexual serial killer before.
You know what? I think you're right. We have not.
Not that I can recall.
Yeah, you're right.
But even so, he only targeted women. There are gay serial killers, but they usually target men. But, you would think a bisexual serial killer would target both men and women, but he didn't. So why?
Yeah.
People say that he just hated women because of his mom. Well, he said himself that he felt more comfortable around men.
Huh.
I don't know. He told one psychiatrist that the murders always started off the same way. He, quote, indulged in a male, unquote. So, and I mentioned that that's kind of a weird way to say it.
It is an interesting one.
Yeah. So it sounds to me that he was ashamed of that. He indulged himself in,
a behavior that he didn't like about himself.
Exactly. And then so maybe he said he indulged in a male or was simply getting money from the male, then smoked crack, and then picked up a female to kill. So maybe shame followed by rage.
Oh. Is that like a natural progression of emotions?
It can be, yeah. I mean, anger is not a primary emotion. Anger usually happens after something, your feelings are hurt or there's shame or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense now I'm thinking about it in my head.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the case, I'm a big fan of Brene Brown and, talking about shame and so that we can let it go and it doesn't have to weigh us down.
It doesn't have to turn into rage and you don't have to kill anybody.
Yes, exactly. And you're right. Something about the generational trauma I wanted to say is that I didn't write down, but if he grew up in Detroit, he was born in like 1968. And so I imagine there wasn't a lot of Black people in Detroit until the Great Migration.
Right.
When Black people. So I wonder if his family originated in the South, maybe some racial trauma. I didn't read about his mom. You did. Like, did she grow up in the South? Was she picking cotton? What was
it didn't say anything about that.
Okay.
What it did say was that she got pregnant when she was 14 years old. So,
oh Lord.
And then she gave the baby up for adoption and then she turned to sex work. And so I don't know why all of that happened, but it doesn't sound good.
Okay. I'm making a lot of presumptions just because of the year he was born and the fact that he was Black. So my bad on that. But you're right. Generational trauma is very real. And unless we do the work to break the cycle and heal those wounds, it's likely it's going to just continue.
Yeah.
But to truly understand his trajectory, I think we should examine, the broader context. And while LBJ was preoccupied with the report that hurt his widow feelings of his administration. What does that remind you of?
Yeah.
Anyway,
something. It reminds me of something.
Black and Brown communities were enduring the brutal actual realities and existential threats of systemic oppression that the powers that be refused to do anything about. And the truth was just too uncomfortable for the government to confront. Right. And despite data and recommendations, nothing meaningful was ever done, despite so much evidence and opportunity.
Yeah. They gave them a whole plan.
Yeah.
This is what you need to do.
Step by step in writing.
And to this day, almost 60 years later,
not one action item completed.
Maybe not completed. Maybe. Yes, maybe they've worked. Some of it has been worked on, but
yeah, but that's how progress works in this country, and it's so frustrating.
It is really
so frustrating.
It's like one step forward and two steps back.
Yes, and right now we're in the 2 steps back.
Yeah,
and I don't
we're definitely on step 2. Yeah.
Oh man, tough. But real people suffered and were harmed by those discriminatory housing policies.
We're talking about those people, the victims,
the
perpetrator, his family, their families. Yeah, they were all victims.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I want to give you an air horn, but I don't know if it's so edit it out if it feels weird. Oh my God, that was really profound. Yes, exactly. And yeah, I I lost my train of thought because you hit the nail on the head and now I'm dead. But
You're a ghost. I'm talking to your
I'm
ghost.
a ghost. Exactly. But life does everything it can to survive, right? That's just how it operates.
How it works. Yeah.
And so to everybody who's enduring these systemic issues, they're just all trying to survive.
Yeah.
Which made the victims, imperfect. People dealing with addiction and poverty. Oh, and not to mention their blackness or womanness. Also, I wish Tony's parents or any adult in his life had been able to offer him safety and care. Just doesn't seem like anybody was capable of it.
Right.
And I hold deep empathy for the child Tony once was.
I think about that baby.
Yeah.
And the horror that was inflicted on that baby.
Yeah. And if you think about it, I mean, the women he harmed and then disposed of like trash kind of mirrors how young Tony was treated, abandoned, hurt, abused and just sort of discarded.
Yeah.
And, the women who became his victims were, like I said, also trying to survive. Their circumstances were shaped by poverty and trauma and limited choices. It breaks my heart because they were victims of both systemic neglect and of Atkins himself. And sometimes there are no good options. I always get frustrated when people are like, well, why couldn't they just not do drugs? Or why can't they just not be poor? Oh my gosh.
Why can't they just not be hurt by all the trauma? Why can't they just stop? Oh my God.
Come on.
Just stop.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's so dumb.
Yeah, it is so dumb. Yeah.
And
also, I say that, but I think a lot of people don't understand it. Like they just don't.
Yeah.
They see things on a surface level and don't really understand all the trauma.
Yeah.
So,
or can't even imagine it. And so, I mean, I read this story and honestly was racking my brain. I have no idea what I would do if I was in these women's shoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And addiction is often a symptom of deeper pain and unresolved trauma. I truly hope those women, Patricia, Valerie, Vicky Ann, Debbie Ann, Bertha Jean, Juanita, Jane Doe, Vicky, Marie, Joanne, Brenda, and Cece are resting at peace in paradise. And to every single soul touched by this story, we see you and we send love and hope for healing. All of the victims, and like that one survivor who was brushed off, and all of the victims.
It was Darlene Saunders.
Yes. Darlene is a hero in this case. I hope wherever Darlene is at, she is blessed and highly favored. But I also just forgot to mention that all of the victims were somebody's child. Many of them were somebody's mom and sister, friend. And that alone is enough value to exist with safety and love without having to be killed. That's all I wanted to say. That's all I got. Anything to add, Beth?
Nope. That's all I got.
Let us know, Fruities, what are your thoughts?
Get at us. Let us know. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Beth, where can the people find us?
Our website is fruitloopspod.com, and we use Fruit Loops Pod for all of our social media. The footnotes for each episode can be found on our website. Plus, check it out for the different ways that you can support the show. You can also join us on Patreon, where we have hundreds of hours of bonus content. You can also support us by supporting our sponsors, or by giving us a 5-star review.
5 stars only, please.
Don't forget to subscribe.
That's right. Now, this is a weekly podcast, and episodes drop on Thursdays. So until next time, look alive, y'all. It's crazy out there.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm back. I'm
You're
back.
And we're back.
And
where would you
we're
like
back.
to begin from, friend?
Should we start at the beginning again?
Are you ready
All
to
right.
start the show?
I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's go. Okay. All right. Let's do this.
All right.
One of Michigan. I gotta start that again. Could it be that facing the truth of racism was uncomfortable? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to be uncomfortable.
Oh no. But what about the people who are actually experiencing the shit?
Yeah. Who cares about them? I don't want to be uncomfortable.
Exactly. Comfort over everything.
Okay.
Can you hear donkeys?
I don't hear the donkeys. No.
Okay.
Woman named. I just threw that name in there. Like,
okay.
let me start that over.
Yeah.
I heard a
close
squeak.
the door all the way, please. Thank you. Okay.
So yeah, this is her brother's girlfriend. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Never mind.
A scraper.
Scrapper.
What's a scrapper?
Somebody who goes into buildings and tries to find like scraps.
Scrapping.
Yeah.
Oh, when you go scrapyard hunting.
Yes, like that.
Oh, cool. I've always wanted to try that. Anyway.
Actually, my son likes to do that. Go to junkyards.
Yeah, that's what I've heard is people do that for fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep losing my place. It's a lot harder on my phone than I thought it was going to be. Anyway, Okay, I'm going to read that again.
Okay.
So
he wouldn't do such a thing.
Okay, thank you. Oh, good directing. Add that to your list of credits. Yeah. So we're all right. I'm really glad we had this team meeting.
Yeah.
Ready? Break.
Let's go.
So, okay, Beth. Despite some hiccups in the beginning, we did it.
We did it.
Yay! I'm so proud of us. Okay.
All right.
I'm going to add that to my list.
List of things to do.
Hey, man, I'm bored, so I'm excited.
All right, cool. Right on.
I'm so bored being so awesome all the time.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, cool. All right.
Okay, love you. Night.
Love you too.
Have a great weekend. Ta-ta.
You too. Bye.
Okay, bye.